Charlotte, thank you very much for that. Charlotte Bellis live for us there at Kabul airport. Let's discuss this further now with Fahim Sadat, who's head of the International Relations Department at Cardan University, Kabul. He's joining us from Spain via Skype. Thank you for being with us, Fahim Sadat. So as you heard Charlotte say there, that the Taliban accusing the US of violating the Doha peace agreement because key members of its caretaker government remain on the US blacklist. How much does this complicate their plans to have good relations with the outside world?
Well, I think there was always a selective approach to the implementation of the Doha Agreement. And both parties violated it when it was best to their interest and implemented it when it seemed beneficial for them. Now the Taliban are claiming that their leaders has to be out of the blacklist as agreed in the Doha Agreement is a fine claim. But at the same time, it was also agreed in the Doha Agreement that there should be a reduction in violence and not a military takeover of Kabul, which happened. So I think the Doha Agreement is more a strategic trump card, which is being used at times by both parties. But the reality is that the sanction list is one of the only viable leverage of the international community, which could be used by them against the Taliban for any concession which they would like to have from the Taliban. And the Taliban also have to use other leverages such as the evacuations and also the non-inclusivity to get concessions from the international community.
So do you see this affecting evacuations, the remaining US evacuations from Afghanistan?
I think, yes. As I said before, these are the cards both sides would use. The international community would pressure the Taliban by not taking their leaders out of the sanction list, while the Taliban would make it harder for the international community, particularly for the US, to smoothly have the transition of the evacuees. So something, and finally they had to, at certain point, come to a conclusion or agreements by giving concessions to each other.
Right. So who's likely to make that concession first, do you think? The Taliban have indicated when they unveiled their caretaker government that this was a work in progress and that more government posts are expected to be announced. Do you think they'll have no choice ultimately than to reconsider some of these positions and soften their stance on some key issues like women's rights, for example, in order to have these good relations that they've called with the outside, that they've called for with the outside world?
Well, the Taliban's announcement of the current caretaker government has two reasons. One, they would like to see the reaction of the international community and as well as the Afghan people. To what extent is that reaction? And then accordingly, they will reform the so-called permanent government that is going to come after this. And at the same time, the international community also had to accordingly prepare themselves how to deal with the Taliban. We were expecting a more inclusive government, but at the moment it seems that the priority of the Taliban is internal cohesiveness, which they have somehow ensured through this type of a government which is announced.
Right. Fahim Sadat, we've had the caretaker Prime Minister appeal to former government officials who've left Afghanistan to return home. Are they likely to heed that call?
Well, Afghanistan has truly faced a brain drain. A lot of the skilled people, the educated and experienced people with modern governance has left Afghanistan. But there's a huge gap of trust between the people who have left Afghanistan and the Taliban. And there has been sporadic news of some of the people who have remained in Afghanistan. Some of them have been killed and some of them are still in hiding. So until there are strong guarantees and actions that generate trust between those who have left the country, it would be very difficult for these people to return back to and join the government.
Thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your views and thoughts with us on this. Fahim Sadat, Head of International Relations at Cardan University, the International Relations Department, joining us there from Spain. We appreciate your time.